Some of these stories contain disturbing material and are not suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised. The Guy Down the Street. I'm a 30-year-old woman and used to live in a small neighborhood when I was younger. This story took place when I was around 15. I spent most of my time just walking around the neighborhood, listening to my MP3 player. Wow, I feel old just saying that. There was a guy around the same age as me that lived maybe 5 or so houses down from me. From the neighborhood gossip, I learned that he was homeschooled and had been in and out of juvie due to his anger issues. He was almost always outside, and sometimes, when I passed his house, he would start following me. I was smart enough to always have my music down low enough to be able to hear and be aware of my surroundings. At first, I passed it off as him just ending up walking the same time of day I did. Looking back, I was truly dumb. As time passed, he got closer and closer to me when following, until he eventually decided to come up right behind me. He said some truly heinous things that I will not repeat here. I mean, he was right in my ear when he was talking. I ran home and told my sister. She was basically the one who raised me. She told me I was lying, and to stop making up stories. For a while, I stopped going out for walks, until I needed the fresh air and exercise, and tried again after a few months. Sure enough, there he was, and he came right up behind me and started talking to me again. I turned my music up and ignored him. This is what I continued to do every day, until he got tired of me ignoring him, I guess, because one day he grabbed my arm. I couldn't get away, and then he grabbed the back of my neck and told me that I should know better than to ignore him. Again, I told my sister. She didn't believe me, and I stopped going out again. 2 weeks later, I woke up to a loud banging on my bedroom wall. There was a garage on both sides of the house, and the wall of my bedroom shared a wall with one of the garages. The garage was unfinished. There wasn't even concrete down, and it was easily accessible from outside as it was missing the door at the back of the house. My sister was out of town, and my dad was deaf and bedridden, so I was the only one in the house able to do anything. My bedroom also had a door to the outside, so I ran over and locked it. I laid down and waited for the banging to stop, but it didn't. My cousin and her boyfriend lived down the street, so I called her and she sent her boyfriend over to see what it was. Her boyfriend pulled into the backyard and right up to the garage door. His headlights filled the garage and outran the guy down the street, holding a large knife. He took off running, and my cousin's boyfriend followed. I called the police. They came and took a statement, but said there was nothing they could do because other than going into the garage and trespassing, he didn't actually do anything. I never took a walk in that neighborhood again. I still wonder how he knew which wall to bang on. How did he know I was on the other side of it? How did he know my sister was gone and my dad was bedridden and couldn't do anything? I never locked my door, so had he been in my house before? What would have happened if I'd gone outside? It still gives me the creeps. So, guy down the street, let's not meet again. This happened last week, and while she didn't seem malicious, the things she said were creepy. I'm a 19-year-old male and was going home from university, and to get home, I have to use the train. As I got on, a lot of the seats were occupied. In my country, the seats are put in a way so that 4 people can talk and sit in front of each other, and they are kinda close. Perfect for talking, even with strangers, sadly. I see that there is a free space in front of this girl, who's probably 1 or 2 years younger than me, but you can never know. I go there and ask her if I can sit down. "Of course," she replied, and looked at me in a strange, intense way. I pulled out my phone to distract myself from her. She also had a chocolate in her hand. That's going to be important later. "Where do you live?" she asked me, and I was like, "Why do you want to know?" So she asked when I was going to get off the train. I told her my stop, and she told me that she is getting off at the next one. She started singing, then said, "Oh, sometimes I sing. I'm a silly girl." Then did it again. Whenever she said something, she looked at me like she was waiting for a response. So I replied, "It's okay to be silly," because I just didn't want to talk to her. Then she told me, "You're pretty." And when I asked what, she asked if I thought she was pretty. Then she asked if she had chocolate on her face. She did. She offered me some, but I declined. She also told me about her piercing that came off, and she put it on in the middle of the train. I told her that she should get it fixed at the shop where she got it, and she said, "Will you go there with me?" But obviously I told her no. While she was putting her piercing back in her mouth piercing, she told me that she was in love with me. I told her that I have a girlfriend. I don't, but I just wanted her to leave me alone, and that the pacing is too fast for me. She told me that she would beat my girlfriend. Her "I love yous" started escalating into "I'll kidnap you" and "strip for me." She asked me if I'll go with her, and if she could go home with me. When the train finally arrived at my destination, she asked me, "Are you going, love?" I told her yes, and went on my way. Luckily, she didn't follow me home. She also asked me when we were going to meet again. Hopefully never. He wanted me to drive him to a place that doesn't exist. This week has been hectic. My 3 kids have the flu. The oldest was first, then my younger 2 caught it. After a visit to the clinic, I was heading to the CVS down the street from our house for their prescriptions. I made a last-minute decision to drop my kids off at home with their dad, so they could rest, and I could go inside the store to pick up some Pedialyte. I consider our neighborhood to be safe. I've taken walks after dark and never felt afraid. Most of our neighbors are older folks who have lived there for over a decade. When I pulled up to the CVS, I parked on the side parallel to our street. It's darker on that side, but the entrance is right around the corner and well lit. There was a man standing outside. He walked in front of my car, and I could hear him talking, but my music was kinda loud. I figured he was on his phone, or something. No real red flags yet. My husband called me as the man walked back towards the corner adjacent to the entrance. I got out of my car, still on the phone, telling my husband, "Yeah, kiddos have the flu. I'm picking up medicine at the CVS." In a very pleasant voice, the man says to me, "Hey, I got a question for you. You know where Main Street is?" I, assuming he is asking for directions or the location of something, tell him I do. I'm still holding my phone to my ear. It's in a bright pink case, so I'm sure he could see it. Now, this man is standing directly in front of me. There is a pillar and a trash can behind him. Around the corner is a propane cage and a red box against the store's wall. Getting past him would put me in arm's reach. Next, he asks for a ride there, to a homeless shelter. It's very cold outside and he doesn't want to freeze. I sympathized with him but said I couldn't. I offered to buy him gloves and/or a blanket, and to ask if an employee in the store could assist in finding him a ride. Sweet baby Jesus. This guy's face instantly changed to pure rage, then right back to pleasant. "Well, you know what happens to homeless people stuck outside. You're going to help me. It's right down the street." I'm standing there unsure what to do. My husband is on the phone, asking what's going on. I gently tell the man that I don't feel comfortable doing that, and that I have the flu. I don't, and my husband is on the phone with me. "I don't care about the flu." Now he's getting more angry, and not moving away from my route into the store. I didn't want to turn my back on him, to go back to my car, which was several feet away, in the dark. While this guy is glaring at me, I decide to quickly walk past him. I had my mask from the clinic in my jacket pocket, so I pulled that out and held it in front of me while I moved towards the trash can. He looked disgusted, but kept telling me I need to give him a ride. "It's right down the street," he insisted. But I know where that street is, and it's not as close as he says. He tried to guilt me, and his words felt threatening. But he didn't actually threaten me verbally. Once I was around the corner, I rushed into the store, straight to the pharmacy. My husband said he's calling the police. He heard the way the man was talking to me and said to stay in the store. My knees were shaking. I'm not usually the type to be so afraid when confronted. When I got to the pharmacy, I interrupted the pharmacist and the customer, apologizing, then told them what happened. The pharmacist sent the store manager out, a tall guy with a long beard who looked like he doesn't take any crap from people. The police had already arrived. The man was told to leave, which he did momentarily. He came back inside the store yelling obscenities and something about me. Now the store manager tells the man to get the heck out. He's trespassing on the property. The cop came back to talk to me and told me she has arrested him many times. He's loud and likes to yell at people, but he isn't violent. The pharmacist had me hiding behind the screen where they give vaccines and left the half door to the pharmacy cracked open in case I needed to get out of there. The cop also told me the guy's first and last name, as did the store manager. Is that normal? The prescriptions were filled, and I left the store. The police parked next to my car to keep an eye on me. Oh, and the man refused a ride from the cop to the shelter. Later, I looked him up. His name is unique, so he was easy to find online. Surprise, surprise. He has a long record spanning 3 states and several counties. Public intoxication charges, DWI, urinating in public, assault and battery, and indecent exposure. I also looked up the homeless shelter. Yeah, as I thought, there isn't one where he wanted me to take him, but that area is super sketchy. Earlier today, I went to the corner store across from the CVS and told my friend, the overnight shift employee, what happened. She kicks him out of the store and calls the police every time she sees him because he yells at and threatens customers. But he always takes off before the police arrive. I know I could have handled it better. I was blindsided by his instant shift from pleasant to filled with rage. Big thank you to the pharmacy team who kept me safe, and the store manager for confronting the creep. They didn't have to do all that. I'm thankful my husband recognized I was in danger over the phone. The man is still out there, somewhere in my area.